I never thought 7 words could break me the way they did that Tuesday evening. "Can you pretend you're not with me tonight?" she said, leaning into the mirror of her Shoreditch flat, carefully applying mascara with the precision of someone who'd done this 1,000 times before. The way she said it, so casual, so matter-of-fact, like she was asking me to pick up milk from Tesco on my way over. For her, it was just a simple request. For me, it was the confirmation of everything I'd spent 3 years avoiding. We were mates. Always had been, since that random night at a pub quiz in Dalston where we both knew far too much about 90s Britpop and absolutely nothing about geography. The kind of mates who texted at 2:30 in the morning when sleep wouldn't come, who could sit in comfortable silence on the Northern Line after a rubbish day, who just knew when something was wrong without a single word being said. But friendship can hide things, can't it? And I'd been hiding something massive, something that sat in my chest like a stone I couldn't cough up no matter how hard I tried. I told her yes, of course I would. Because that's what I always did. Pretending had never been the hard part. The hard part was keeping it up day after day, week after week, watching her smile at her reflection whilst I felt that familiar ache spreading through my ribs. The ache of caring for someone who would never look at you the way you looked at them. She wasn't doing it to be cruel. Emma never did anything to be cruel. She was kind, actually, sometimes painfully so. And maybe that's what hurt most about the whole situation. There was no villain in this story. No one to be angry at. Just silence and unspoken words piling up like unopened letters on a doormat. I watched her select a pair of earrings, small silver hoops that caught the light from the lamp beside her bed. She was wearing that black dress, the one she always wore when she wanted to feel confident. I knew it well. I knew everything well. Too well, perhaps. "You're brilliant for doing this," she said, turning to face me with that smile that had disarmed me since the moment we met. "I just don't want to deal with questions tonight, you know? Everyone at Sarah's parties always makes such a fuss about who's seeing who." I nodded, keeping my face neutral. I'd had years of practice. "Plus," she continued, grabbing her jacket from the back of her door, "there's this bloke from the office who might be there. Tom. I've mentioned him, haven't I?" She had. Several times. Each mention like a small cut that I'd learned to ignore. "Yeah, you have," I managed to say, my voice sounding normal even though everything inside me felt like it was slowly crumbling. Looking back now, I realized that something shifted in that moment. Not in her. In me. Something fundamental had begun to crack, like ice on the Serpentine in early spring. Imperceptible at first, but once it starts, there's no stopping it. I grabbed my keys from her kitchen counter, the familiar weight of them in my palm suddenly feeling different. Heavier, somehow. "Ready then?" I asked. "Ready," she said brightly, completely unaware that I'd just made a decision I didn't even know I was making. We headed down the narrow stairs of her building, past the bins that always smelled faintly of curry, out into the cool London evening where the streetlights were just beginning to flicker on. My car was parked just round the corner on Kingsland Road, wedged between a delivery van and someone's knackered old Fiesta. Emma climbed into the passenger seat, immediately connecting her phone to the auxiliary cable and scrolling through Spotify whilst I started the engine. She found a playlist, something upbeat and poppy that I wouldn't normally choose but had grown used to over the years. The kind of music that filled the space between us so we didn't have to. "Sarah's place is in Clapham, yeah?" I asked, even though I already knew. I'd driven her to enough parties, enough dinners, enough situations where I played the role of the reliable mate who asked for nothing in return. "Yeah, near the Common. Should take us about 40 minutes this time of night if the traffic's not too bad." She was right, of course. Emma knew London like the back of her hand, could navigate the entire tube map in her head, knew which roads to avoid at rush hour and which night buses actually ran on time. We merged onto the main road, heading south. She talked the entire way, and I listened like I always did. She told me about her week at the marketing agency where she worked, about her horrible line manager Claire who kept taking credit for her ideas, about the new coffee shop that had opened near Liverpool Street that did proper flat whites. Then she talked about Tom. Tom from accounts. Tom, who apparently had amazing taste in music, and really got her sense of humor, and had asked her if she was going to Sarah's party this weekend. Tom, who might just be there tonight. Every word was like pushing on a bruise. But I nodded along, made appropriate comments, even laughed when she recounted something funny he'd said in the kitchen at work. Because that's what good mates do, isn't it? They support each other. They want each other to be happy. Even when it kills them. We hit traffic near Vauxhall, brake lights stretching ahead of us like a glowing red snake. Emma didn't seem to notice. She was too busy checking her reflection in the passenger mirror, adjusting her hair, reapplying lip balm. I gripped the steering wheel a bit tighter than necessary. "Do I look all right?" she asked suddenly, turning to face me. "You look lovely," I said, and meant it. She always did. "Not too much?" Claire said this dress might be a bit much for a house party. "Claire's an idiot," I replied flatly. "You look perfect." She beamed at that, satisfied, and went back to her phone. Traffic started moving again. We crossed the river, the Thames dark and glittering beneath the bridges, the city lights reflecting off its surface like scattered stars. London at night had always felt magical to me, full of possibility. But tonight it just felt heavy. By the time we reached Clapham, I could feel the exhaustion settling into my bones. Not physical tiredness. Something deeper. The kind that comes from carrying something for too long. I found parking near Sarah's Road, a minor miracle on a Saturday night. Emma unbuckled her seatbelt and checked her phone one more time. "Right," she said, taking a deep breath. "How do I look?" Final verdict. "Stunning," I said quietly. She smiled at me then, that genuine, warm smile that had kept me tethered for 3 years. "You're the best, you know that? Seriously. I don't know what I'd do without you." The words should have felt good. They didn't. "Have a good time," I managed to say. "I'll text you when I'm ready to leave, yeah? Shouldn't be too late. Maybe midnight?" "Yeah, course." She squeezed my arm affectionately, grabbed her bag, and opened the door. I watched her walk up the path to Sarah's terraced house, watched the door open and swallow her into warm light and laughter and people who weren't me. I sat there for a moment longer than I needed to, engine still running, hands still on the wheel. For the first time in 3 years, I didn't feel sad. I felt tired. Properly, deeply, bone-tired. I put the car in gear and drove away from that house, from that party, from Emma, with a strange clarity settling over me. Something had shifted. Not a decision yet, but the beginning of one. I drove back to my flat in Peckham on autopilot, barely registering the roads or the other cars or the fact that I'd just gone through 2 red lights without meaning to. When I finally parked outside my building, I sat in the darkness for a while, listening to the distant sound of sirens and someone's bass-heavy music thumping through open windows. My phone buzzed. Emma, sending me a photo of her and Sarah pulling faces at the camera. "Missing you already," the caption said, followed by 3 heart emojis. I locked my phone without responding. Upstairs, my flat felt different somehow. Smaller. Like the walls had moved closer together whilst I was out. I didn't turn on the telly or put music on or scroll through my phone like I normally would. I just sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the carpet, thinking about how many times I'd done this exact thing. Put my own feelings aside. Shown up when she needed me. Listened to her talk about other blokes. Pretended I was fine with being the mate, the reliable one, the person she called when she needed something but never when she wanted something. It wasn't her fault. That's what made it worse, somehow. Emma was a good person. She cared about me, in her way. She just didn't care about me in the way I needed her to. And I'd never told her. Never said a word. Too scared of losing her completely, so I'd settled for having her partially. Better some of her than none of her, I'd convinced myself. But sitting there in my quiet flat, I realized that's not actually true, is it? Having someone close but not close enough isn't better than nothing. It's worse. It's torture dressed up as friendship. I stood up slowly and pulled my rucksack down from the top of my wardrobe. I don't know why. I wasn't thinking clearly. Or maybe I was thinking more clearly than I had in years. I started putting things in it. Clothes. Toiletries. My laptop charger. My passport, which was stupid because where was I even going? But I kept packing anyway, my hands moving with a purpose my brain hadn't quite caught up to yet. Each item I folded and placed in the bag felt symbolic somehow. Like I was packing away more than just physical objects. I was packing away 3 years of unspoken words, of swallowed feelings, of moments where I'd chosen her comfort over my own sanity. The time she'd cried on my shoulder about her ex-boyfriend whilst I held her and wished it was me making her feel better in a different way. The time we'd gone to Brighton for the day and she'd fallen asleep on my shoulder on the train back and I barely breathed for fear of waking her. The countless nights I'd stayed up talking to her until 4 in the morning because she couldn't sleep, then dragged myself to work the next day running on Red Bull and regret. I sat down on the bed again, rucksack half-packed beside me. My phone was still buzzing periodically with updates from the party. I ignored it. Loving someone in secret isn't romantic like they show in films. It's not poetic or noble or beautiful. It's exhausting. It's lonely. It's choosing to hurt yourself every single day and calling it loyalty. The flat was silent except for the sound of my own breathing. I looked around at my life, really looked at it properly for the first time in ages. The framed photo of me and Emma at a festival last summer on my bedside table. The hoodie she'd left here weeks ago that still smelled like her perfume, hanging on my door. The spare toothbrush in my bathroom that she used when she stayed over after nights out. Evidence of her everywhere. Evidence of me nowhere. When had I become so small in my own life? I picked up my phone and opened WhatsApp. Emma had sent 3 more messages. Photos, mostly. Her and people I vaguely recognized from her work. Everyone looking happy and drunk and young and free. I started typing a message. Deleted it. Started again. Deleted it again. What was there to say? How do you tell someone you've been lying for 3 years? That every time you said you were fine, you weren't? That you love them but you need to leave because staying is killing you? I put the phone down and finished packing instead. By 10:30, I'd made a decision that surprised even me. I wasn't going to leave a note. Wasn't going to send some long, emotional text that I'd spend hours crafting and recrafting. Wasn't going to explain myself or justify or apologize for finally choosing myself after 3 years of choosing her. I just needed to go. Not forever, maybe. I didn't know yet. But I needed distance. Proper distance. The kind you can't bridge with a quick tube ride or a phone call. I threw my rucksack in the boot of my car and started driving. No destination in mind at first, just away. Away from Peckham, away from London, away from the life I'd built around someone who would never love me back. I ended up heading west on the M4, watching the city lights fade in my rearview mirror. The motorway was quiet for a Saturday night, just lorries and the occasional car. I had the radio on low, some late-night talk show I wasn't really listening to, just background noise to keep me company. My phone kept buzzing in the cup holder. I knew it was Emma. Probably wondering where I was, whether I was still planning to pick her up. Part of me felt guilty. The same part that had kept me trapped for 3 years. But a newer, stronger part of me kept driving. I pulled off at a service station somewhere past Reading, needing petrol and coffee and a moment to actually process what I was doing. The place was nearly deserted, just a few tired-looking people shuffling around the Costa queue and a bloke asleep in his car near the toilets. Whilst I waited for my coffee, I finally looked at my phone properly. 7 missed calls from Emma. 15 WhatsApp messages. The preview of the last one read, "Where are you? I'm ready to leave and you're not answering." I should have felt something. Panic, guilt, worry. But all I felt was a strange, calm emptiness. I opened our chat thread and scrolled up, reading through months of conversations. Her asking me for favors. Me saying yes. Her telling me about blokes she fancied. Me giving advice whilst dying inside. Her sending me photos from nights out I wasn't invited to. Me replying with encouraging words I didn't mean. It was all there. 3 years of evidence that I'd been an extra in her life whilst she'd been the main character in mine. The barista called out my order and I grabbed my coffee, black with 2 sugars, and walked back to my car. I sat in the driver's seat with the door open, 1 foot on the tarmac, staring at my phone screen. I started typing. I can't do this anymore. Deleted it. You deserve to know the truth about how I feel. Deleted it. I'm sorry, but I need to put myself first for once. Deleted it. Every version sounded wrong. Too dramatic or not dramatic enough. Too accusatory or too apologetic. Nothing captured what I actually wanted to say, which was simply, I love you, and that's exactly why I have to go. In the end, I didn't send anything. I just pocketed my phone, finished my coffee, and got back on the motorway. I drove for another hour before pulling off near Bath. Found a small hotel, the kind with peeling paint and a flickering neon vacancy sign. Paid cash for a room because it felt appropriately anonymous. The room was exactly what you'd expect. Thin walls, scratchy duvet, telly that only got about 5 channels. But it was mine. My space. No Emma in it, no memories attached to it, no weight of unspoken feelings pressing down on me. I lay on the bed fully clothed, staring at the ceiling with its water stain that looked a bit like a map of Ireland. My phone had gone quiet. Either Emma had given up trying to reach me, or her battery had died. Either way, the silence felt different now. Not comfortable, exactly, but necessary. I thought about texting someone. My brother, maybe. Or my mate James from school. But what would I even say? Hey mate, just ran away from my own life because I fell in love with my best friend who doesn't love me back. It sounded pathetic even in my own head. So I just lay there, listening to the sound of someone shagging enthusiastically in the room next door and the occasional car passing on the road outside, and tried to figure out what the hell I was meant to do next. I must have dozed off at some point because I woke to my phone vibrating violently on the bedside table. The clock read 0:47. My mouth tasted like petrol station coffee and regret. The phone kept buzzing. Emma. Of course it was Emma. For a few seconds, I just watched it dance across the cheap laminate surface, her name flashing on the screen. Part of me wanted to answer, to fall back into the comfortable pattern of always being there when she called. But that part was getting smaller. I picked up the phone and stared at it, thumb hovering over the green button. Then I answered. Finally, she said, and I could hear the alcohol in her voice, the slight slur that meant she'd had a few too many Proseccos. Where the hell are you? I've been calling for hours. I know, I said quietly. Well? Are you coming to get me or what? The party's wrapping up and Sarah's already gone to bed and I really don't fancy getting a night bus back. In the background, I could hear music still playing, voices laughing, someone shouting about finding their coat. The sounds of a night out I wasn't part of. The sounds of her life without me. Tom left ages ago, she continued, not waiting for my response. Turns out he's got a girlfriend. Can you believe that? He never mentioned a girlfriend. 3 weeks of flirting in the kitchen and he's got a bloody girlfriend. Emma, I started, but she kept talking. And Sarah's friend Lucy kept asking about you, actually. She seemed quite keen. I told her you weren't really looking for anything right now, but I could give her your number if you wanted. She's nice, works in publishing or something. Bit quiet but probably your type. I'm not coming to get you. Silence. Proper silence. Even the background noise seemed to fade. What? I'm not coming to get you, I repeated, my voice steadier than I expected. I'm not even in London. What do you mean you're not in London? Where are you? Doesn't matter where I am. Is this some kind of joke? Because it's not funny. It's nearly 1 in the morning and I need to get home, Anne. You can get an Uber, I said. Or ask one of your mates to drop you. Or get the night bus like everyone else. What's wrong with you? Her voice had shifted from confusion to irritation. Are you angry about something? Because if you're going to be weird about tonight, then just say so instead of being passive-aggressive. That word. Passive. It landed like a slap. 3 years of being passive. 3 years of swallowing my feelings and going along with whatever she wanted and never once saying what I actually thought or felt or needed. I'm not being passive, I said, and something in my tone must have registered because she went quiet again. For once in my life, I'm actually being honest. Honest about what? I could hear her moving, probably stepping outside or finding somewhere quieter. The music faded. When she spoke again, her voice was different. Smaller. What's going on? This was it. The moment I'd been avoiding for 3 years. The conversation that would change everything or destroy everything or possibly both at once. I've been pretending, I said finally. That's what I've been doing. Pretending. Pretending what? That I'm fine being your mate. That it doesn't bother me hearing about Tom or the bloke before him or any of them. That I'm happy being the person you call when you need something but never when you want someone. That's not fair. You asked me to pretend I wasn't with you tonight, I continued, the words coming faster now, 3 years of them finally finding their way out. But I've been pretending for way longer than tonight, Emma. I've been pretending since the day we met. She didn't say anything. I could hear her breathing, quick and shallow. Pretending I don't love you, I said quietly. Pretending my heart doesn't break every time you talk about someone else. Pretending I'm okay with this when I'm not. I'm really, really not. The silence that followed felt enormous. I could almost see her standing there, probably outside Sarah's house, probably in shock, probably trying to figure out what to say. Why didn't you tell me? She whispered finally. Because I was scared, I admitted. Scared of losing you completely. But tonight, sitting in that car watching you walk into that party, I realized I've already lost you. Or maybe I never really had you. Either way, I can't keep doing this. So what? You're just running away. I'm choosing myself for the first time in 3 years. That's the same thing. No, I said firmly. It's really not. Another long silence. Then, so quietly I almost didn't hear it, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, I told her. This isn't about you making me feel better or fixing this. It's about me finally being honest about what I need. Which is what? Space, I said. Time. Distance from you. From us. From whatever this is that I convinced myself was enough. I heard her make a sound, half laugh, half sob. You're serious? You actually serious? Yeah, I said. I am. Where are you? It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Emma. Please, she said, and her voice cracked slightly. Just tell me where you are. I looked around the shabby hotel room, at the stained ceiling and the thin curtains and the life I was trying to build out of nothing. I'm still pretending, I said quietly. And I ended the call. I sat there for a long time after hanging up, phone still in my hand, heart hammering in my chest like it was trying to escape. What had I just done? 3 years of careful pretending, destroyed in a 5-minute phone call from a rubbish hotel room near Bath. 3 years of friendship, possibly gone forever because I couldn't keep my mouth shut for one more night. My phone started buzzing again immediately. Emma calling back. I declined it. She called again. Declined again. Then the texts started coming through, one after another, lighting up my screen. Please don't do this, can we just talk properly? I'm sorry if I've been a bad friend, where are you? I'm worried, please answer. I turned my phone off completely and put it face down on the bedside table. The room felt very quiet suddenly. No phone buzzing, no traffic outside, not even the couple next door anymore. Just me and the consequences of my honesty. I didn't regret it, though. That was the strangest part. Despite the anxiety crawling through my veins and the worry about what came next, I didn't regret finally saying it out loud. The truth, after being trapped inside me for so long, had needed to come out. Even if it cost me everything. I must have finally fallen asleep properly around 3 because when I woke up, weak sunlight was streaming through the gap in the curtains and my neck hurt from the terrible pillow. Sunday morning. The real world waiting outside this room. I turned my phone back on, bracing myself for more messages from Emma. But there was only one, sent at 2:34 a.m. I need time to think. But please don't disappear completely. Please. That was it. No anger, no guilt-tripping, no demands. Just that simple request. I didn't reply. Didn't know what to say that wouldn't undo everything I'd finally managed to admit. I checked out of the hotel and started driving again, still heading west with no real plan. Ended up in a small village in the Cotswolds, the kind of place that looked like it had been pulled straight from a postcard. Thatched cottages, a pub called the Crown and Anchor, a church with a graveyard full of headstones so old you couldn't read the names anymore. I found a B&B run by a woman called Margaret who asked no questions and showed me to a room that smelled like lavender and furniture Polish. Proper different from the hotel. This place felt lived in, cared for. Real. Breakfast is at 8, Margaret said cheerfully. Full English, none of that continental rubbish. I spent the rest of Sunday walking. Just walking through the village and the surrounding countryside, trying to clear my head. The air out here was different from London. Quieter. You could actually hear birds. I thought about Emma constantly, of course. Wondered what she was doing, whether she'd got home safe, whether she'd told anyone about our conversation. Wondered if she was angry or hurt or relieved or all three at once. Wondered if I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. By Monday morning, I still hadn't heard from her beyond that one text. I sat in Margaret's dining room eating the promised full English whilst she chatted away about village gossip and whether we'd have a proper winter this year. You look troubled, love, she said eventually, topping up my tea without asking. Man troubles or work troubles? Bit of both, I admitted. Well, whatever it is, it'll sort itself out. Things usually do, given time. I wanted to believe her. But time felt like an enemy right now, stretching out endlessly ahead of me with no clear direction. I stayed in the village for 3 more days. Walked more. Read a book I'd been meaning to read for months. Slept properly for the first time in ages. Let myself exist without Emma's constant presence in my life, even if it was only her presence in my phone. On Wednesday evening, I finally opened her message thread. She'd sent 3 more texts over the past few days. Not demanding answers, just small updates. Letting me know she was okay. Asking if I was. The last one, sent that afternoon, was longer. I've been thinking about what you said. A lot. And I need to tell you something, but not over text. I know you need space and I respect that. But when you're ready, please call me. There's something I should have told you ages ago. Something I've been too scared to admit. Even to myself. I read it 5 times, trying to decode what she meant. Then I read it 5 more times. My hand was shaking slightly as I typed back, tomorrow. I'll call you tomorrow. Her reply came within seconds, okay. Tomorrow. I barely slept that night, running through every possible thing she might say. Most of them bad. A few of them impossible. None of them feeling quite real. At 10 the next morning, I sat on a bench outside Margaret's B&B and called her. She answered on the first ring. Hi, she said, and her voice sounded different. Nervous. Hi, I replied. Thank you for calling. I wasn't sure you would. You said you had something to tell me. Yeah. A pause. I could hear her breathing. This is harder than I thought it would be. Emma. I've been pretending to, she said in a rush.